Welcome to KaaTruths Podcast, a place where we'll ask the questions many people are thinking, but few are brave enough to say out loud. This is not a place for rehearsed answers or comfortable narratives. Here we challenge ideas, confront contradictions, and pursue truth wherever it leads. And today, I'm sitting with a man whose ideas and influence and associations have generated heated controversies and conversation across the Nigerian political space and social media. His name is Zack Orji, a staunch supporter of President Tinubu's administration, an ordained pastor, a Nollywood legend who have had his own share of health challenges. Now, let us begin.
I support this government for good reason. There are things that are happening now that have never happened before.
Over 100 million of Nigerians are living in multidimensional poverty.
Amongst the 15 ECOWAS nations, things are cheapest in Nigeria. I know because I go to these places to work.
Talking about your wife, we also read during that period that while you were battling for your life in Abuja hospital here, your wife was in Lagos.
Some people are interested in sustaining the insecurity because it is business for them, for economic reasons.
If we are just being presented with reasons, does that not show or prove the incompetence of the president? Because Jonathan had reasons, Buhari had reasons. Now in the turn of Tinubu, should we rather focus on the reasons or the fact that the president has not been able to provide that security for us? As an Igbo man, do you think in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, do you think that the Nigerian government is being unjust the way they've treated him? President Tinubu promised that if he doesn't fix power in the first 4 years of his administration, that we should not vote for him again.
These people going to a community and burning down a mosque or killing people who are predominantly Muslims. Would you say there's a Muslim genocide?
Is this the reason why the president decided to install solar system in Asoro? Do you think that with all of this, we should still vote for him in 2027? You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you. I'm going to start from something I read online, and it bothered me a lot. It's about your health.
Okay.
Sitting down here with you today to have this conversation is something I'm particularly excited about, because at some point with what we're reading online, it felt like we're never going to see you this strong again. So I'm going to ask you the first question from there. You were found unconscious in your bathroom.
That's correct.
But what we read, they said you spent 5.5 hours unconscious in the bathroom before you were found. What was the first thing that came to your mind when you regained consciousness?
When I regained consciousness, I just said to myself, thank God for the gift of life. Sometimes we take life for granted. For example, every day you go out and you come back home safe and sound, in good health and sound mind. You must give thanks to God, because that same day some people died. That same day some people had accidents. That same day, some people had one challenge or another, one life-threatening challenge or another. But here you are, you came back home safe and sound, and you take it for granted. That's what usually happens. So for me, it's a daily thing. For example, connecting with my Maker, God Almighty Himself, to give thanks for preserving my going out and my coming in. It's a daily session I have with God to show gratitude and appreciation for, taking me out and bringing me back safe and sound. Another thing that came to my mind was, what if I had passed away? What would happen to my wife? What would happen to my children? I don't know. A whole lot of things just crossed my mind. And when I think about all those things, it still brings me back to expressing my gratitude to God for being there for me at all times, which He has always done. So that's what crossed my mind.
Talking about your wife, we also read during that period that while you were battling for your life in Abuja hospital here, your wife was in Lagos.
Or she came straight away.
She came.
Straight
There
away.
were a lot of speculation then that perhaps you're no longer with your wife and that is why she's in Lagos and while you're battling with your life in Abuja.
What would I say? People are very attracted to bad news in this country. Bad news sells like hotcake. And there were a lot of things that were said about me during that challenging period. But immediately it happened, my wife was summoned to Abuja. She flew immediately to Abuja and stayed with me all through. I passed through 2 brain surgeries. She was there with me all the time in the hospital. All the time. And again, I wish to use this opportunity to appreciate God for the help He sent through some, people. I also found out that sometimes people pass away in hospitals when they're facing challenges simply because there's no help, and then they just give up. But here was I in such a critical situation, and help was just coming. To my surprise, help was just, I didn't need to bother about money. It was the least of my worries at that time because there was so much help through a lot of people that God raised at that time. And I can only say that I'm forever grateful to God for sending help my way and removing that worry from my situation at the time. That also helped me to recover, fast.
Now, you praised the Nigerian health care system when you came out, particularly because of how they handled your issue, I'm guessing. But this same health care system, you and I can agree that it's also the same health care system where millions of poor people have lost their lives. These poor people do not have the privilege of having important VIP guests, visitors like you had during your own challenges. So, were you being honest or you were describing the VIP treatment that people like you got that poor people may never be privileged to have?
No, I wasn't describing the VIP treatment I got. I was describing, how would I put it? I don't know how aptly to put it. I was referring to the fact that we have specialists in Nigeria in different areas who are very good as their colleagues abroad. Dr. Biodun Ogungbo is a brain and spine surgeon. He was the one who treated me after I was moved away from the National Hospital to his private clinic. As a matter of fact, he came highly recommended. My immediate younger brother lives in Atlanta with his family. His wife is also a surgeon. And that was the first person they recommended. That if it's anything to do with brain surgery, that's the best. Another doctor came and recommended the same man and immediately called him. That's how he came to the National Hospital and moved me to his private clinic where the surgery was done. The first surgery was done, and then the second surgery was done. The second surgery became necessary when some residue of blood clot was still found in my brain, so they had to perform a second surgery, which was successful. Then I traveled to the London Independent Hospital for a post-surgery evaluation. And it so happened that the white doctor who attended to me knew Dr. Biodun Ogungbo.
The man that was recommended.
That's right. As a matter of fact, they are professional colleagues. They have practiced together until Dr. Biodun decided to return to Nigeria to continue his practice. So I was very serious when I spoke eloquently about the healthcare system in Nigeria. Dr. Biodun did a great job. I mean, when I went to London, I did all the necessary tests. And Dr. John Ye, who was the white doctor who attended to me, said everything was all right. Yeah. Of course, by then, Dr. Biodun had written a detailed report of all the procedures he passed through and gave to me to hand over to the doctor that was going to attend to me. He never knew that it was somebody he knew.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the movie industry, Nollywood. From our research, you started with Unforgiving Sin in 1991. I don't know if this is correct, but that is what we were able to find.
Unforgiven Sin, yes, was my first movie.
Okay.
And this was in 1993.
Oh, okay. Okay. So over 30 years or so, looking at Nollywood today, are you proud or embarrassed by what the industry has become?
I am proud to be part of this industry, of the film industry in Nigeria. And wherever I go, in the pursuance of my work or further endeavors, I tell them proudly, I'm a Nigerian actor and filmmaker. That's how I introduce myself. The moment I tell them that, they go to Google and immediately they get information on me. This industry has done a lot for our country to give us a positive image. I remember as far back as 2005, I was in Los Angeles to receive some awards. During that trip, I was invited to St. John's, Minneapolis, for the opening of the African Broadcasting Network. And I met some blacks from the Caribbean and other places. They were so excited to see me. And that alone impacted on me that our movies are being watched all over the world.
Yes.
I was in Ghana in 2002 to direct a project. And I was going up the staircase of an office I was visiting. And I heard footsteps behind me, running after me, calling my name, Zack, Zack, Zack. I turned around, it was a white guy from the New York Times. He introduced himself as the other Zack because his
name is Zack too.
Zachary Mayo was his name. He introduced himself as the other Zack. He has watched a lot of my works. That's how we became friends. So at different times, I've gone as far as Bangkok. I've traveled to different countries, both to act, to direct, to produce, to do masterclass for actors, and to mentor a lot of young people who are desirous of a career in film or to take part in one film project or another. And I still feel very proud to be a Nigerian by reason of what the movie industry has done to project a positive image of our country. Because if you look around, you will discover that Nigeria is the one country whose nationals, I don't know if we enjoy speaking negatively about our own country. We enjoy demarketing our country. But the movie industry has done a great job of showcasing Nigeria in a very positive way. In 2004, about 35 of us visited the United States on the invitation of the Nigerian Filmmakers Association, USA. Who is who in the industry was on that trip? Myself, Olu Jacobs, Omotola, Genevieve, Ramsey Noah, Jim Ike, who is who, both actors, marketers, and, film practitioners. On that trip, we had the opportunity of seeing the impact of our industry because people were paying to come and watch us. I remember an event that was organized at Marriott Brooklyn in New York. On that trip, people were paying as much as $100 each to be at the event. That's the impact of the industry. The Nigerian ambassador in Washington organized CNN and other media networks just to come and speak to us. It was an amazing trip. It was a very, very amazing trip. It just enabled us to know the impact that our industry has all over the world. And it made all of us to be very proud, about our country.
Yeah.
So over the years, I've gone to different African countries. And by the way, I am bilingual. I speak French. I read and write French. I direct movies in French too. I've done so in Guinea-Conakry. I've done so in Cameroon. I've done so in Gabon, which is my country of birth. Last year, June, I was in Côte d'Ivoire on the invitation of the government of that country for, an international film market that took place in Abidjan. So I've gone as far as Rwanda to do masterclass for actors. I've gone to Ghana to do likewise. Of course, I've done it here in Nigeria at different times. And it just makes me to be more committed to my work, to be more committed to my craft as an actor and filmmaker. And
hold on a bit. We've realized that most of you watch our videos and forget to subscribe to this channel. It would mean a lot for you to join us. We're building a community, and it's a free thing to do. So I'm appealing to you to please take just a few moments of your time to click the subscribe button and turn on your notification. If you do this, it's going to mean a lot for me and for my team and for every guest we bring on this show. Thank you so much. Now, let's go back to the conversation. Do you think, during your own days, early days of Nollywood, superstars who were made out of storytelling, very sophisticated storytelling, but today it seems that stars are made out of algorithms and Instagrams. Do you think people like you would have still survived the Nollywood of today?
Of course. Because in the end, it's your work that stands you out. It's your work that speaks for you. All the awards I've received all over the world is by reason of my work. It's by reason of the recognition of the things I have done. So, as I speak to you now, I have about 5 film projects. One that I'm going to direct in Rwanda. Other ones that I'm going to direct here in Abuja and, in other parts of the country. And what can I say? There is still much to be done. So much still to be done. And the beautiful thing is that if you talk about the best cameras in the world, we use them here in Nigeria. Whatever camera, nobody can complain now about the quality of our products. Yeah. Nobody, because we use the best cameras. What people don't know is that in Hollywood, not all films are shot on film.
Yes.
Not all films. About 60 to 70% of the works done in Hollywood are shot on the same format that we do here. But then with the best of equipment. And we have all of those things here. We have professionals who are well, knowledgeable in the use of those equipments. So we have come a long way from the days when we were using, analog, we're shooting on analog. We've come a very long way. That's why our films can go to all parts of the world and be well recognized, be well accepted, not only in terms of the relatability of our stories, but also in terms of the quality of films that we produce here in Nigeria.
Do you think that Nollywood movies contributed to this belief in Nigeria that money ritual works? Nollywood, like Kanu, we still call him a nine sacrifice. So those scripts, those Nollywood movies that portrays where one person killed another, belongs to one secret society and suddenly becomes wealthy and all of that. Do you think it contributed to the belief and practice of such barbaric practices in Nigeria? A lot of young people these days do it. They say it's either Yahoo, let's make some sacrifice, and one juju somewhere will make us rich. Do you think Nollywood contributed to it?
I wouldn't want to say that Nollywood contributed to it. Because first of all, our stories are told in a certain format. Righteousness exalts and sin is a reproach. That's what the Bible says. And as our stories follow that pattern, we may tell a story of someone who went through diabolic means to make money, but we also show you the end of that person. If I'm wrong, correct me. Watch every Nollywood film. Every evil you do
catches up with
you. We always reap what we sow.
But currently young people believe that, fine, let me just have the money and die in a couple of years.
There are people like that. There are people like that. But we feel that as filmmakers, we owe our audiences the responsibility to show them the consequences of their actions. For example, there are cigarette packs you buy today, and it is clearly written there as a warning that smoking is not dangerous. Smoking kills. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah.
If after seeing that you still go ahead and buy and smoke, you've been warned. It's the same way with our films. We make sure that we show people the consequences of these actions in the stories we tell. And the reason for doing it, first of all, is to show people that this is what is happening in the society. It's not an encouragement for them to follow the same path. Where film is a reflection of ourselves. As filmmakers, it is our responsibility to show our people that this is what is happening in the society. So beware. Therefore, if after watching any of those films you still think that you can do it and get away with it, you're on your own. You're on your own. It is not an encouragement in any way for people to go ahead and do things like that. It's not an encouragement. It's a warning.
Outside the Nollywood industry, outside movie, do you as a person believe that it is possible for someone to do some diabolical rituals where they keep someone in the room and the person is vomiting money?
I don't believe that.
Because that is what we see mostly in such movies.
I don't believe that because I've never seen it. You know, some things are stranger than fiction. Some things are totally unthinkable. I don't know. I don't know if those things are some of those things are true. And remember, we have all sorts of people in our industry. We have people who shoot crappy films and put out there simply because they have passed through classification. They put it out there. There are some who release these films without going through classification.
Yes.
So all of these things happen. We have filmmakers, we also have crappy filmmakers who show you some things simply because they believe that it is content that will sell. Just like we have people on the social media today in this country who just get up one day and put out false information, like they did with me, like they did recently with my senior brother, Peter Dochie, that he had passed away. You know, they've done it a number of times with a lot of our people. So sometimes you wonder, what is the purpose of doing this? But only those people can speak for themselves. But my guess is that they want to attract a lot of traffic to their pages. That's what I think. Because bad news in this country sells.
Talking about false accusations on personalities, prominent people like you, we saw a video that trended on social media that you and a lot of other stars, both in the movie industry and music industry, were seen campaigning on the street of Mararaba, handing out biscuits and 50 naira to people struggling with hunger under this Tinubu government. Is that true? Did it happen?
It happened, and it didn't happen the way it was portrayed. First of all, I'm a staunch supporter of this government. If you remember the song Nigeria Jaga Jaga
Yes.
by Idris Abdul Karim, it was released in 2004. That's about 22 years ago. And it was simply talking about the situation of things in the country. This country has passed through decades of decay, decades of mismanagement, decades of, I don't know the right word to use. But I can only say that Nigeria was going down. It's like an ailment that begins with a little scratch. Before you know it, it has developed into a bulbous eruption on your skin. And before you know it, it has turned into something else. That's the problem with Nigeria. The malaise that is plaguing the country has been there for a long time. And we needed some form of reform to change some of these things, because we were just going down the drain. We were going down, down, down. If I mention things like fuel subsidy, which became a scam, and a whole lot of other things, so much was being spent every year to maintain an unrealistic rate of our currency with two rates, one official, one unofficial, and people using that and making billions for themselves. So much was being spent to maintain the price of fuel at a certain level by way of subsidy, and it became a scam which was benefiting some people. There were so many other things that were not right in the system. And then all of those things, because we had to keep up with these things, we were increasing our indebtedness. And here is a man who came and said, enough is enough. If this situation is not arrested, the country will go down the drain. And that's exactly what happened. That's why the fuel subsidy was removed. That's why the unification of the Naira became necessary. And a lot of things have changed since then. First of all, reform is not pleasant. Reform is there because you want to correct a certain anomaly that has been going on. It's like you have a wound and you are treating the wound. It is not a pleasant process that you pass through. It must hurt for it to heal. That's what we're passing through at the moment. But if you check from the time that he became president to this present time, we're talking of about 30-something months. You will agree with me that some things have changed. Like the prices of things have come down drastically. The prices of things, tomatoes, rice, beans, a whole lot of things, the prices are just going down. Even the rate of the Naira at that time is coming down, and it is still going to come down some more. But on the positive side, last year we recorded net exports, which has not happened in this country for decades. That is, we exported more than we imported. And then, of course, you know, with the coming to life of the Dangote refinery, there are a lot of petroleum products that we do not import anymore. A lot of them. Okay. And then another refinery is being built in Akwa Ibom State. And a whole lot of things have changed. But so much money in terms of billions was being spent just to sustain these models. And a lot of people were benefiting from it. For the first time in this country, there are things that are happening. Nail Fund. You know about Nail Fund, the Students' Educational Fund, Loan Fund. For me, it's the best in the world. Why? It is interest-free. If you are a student, for example, in America, and you take a student's loan, you may spend the better part of your working life just repaying that loan because it comes with interest. Assuming you took about $30,000 overall as loan for education, by the time you finish paying, you are spending about $15,000 in addition by way of interest payment. That here is the Nigerian Education Loan Fund without interest. It is completely interest-free, and it is repayable 2 years after your youth service when you begin to work. That's the way it is designed. Then there's also the, the setting up of the development commissions for each geopolitical. There are things that are happening now.
I know there are a lot of things you want to point out. No. But we're going to break it down.
Yeah.
We're going to
What
break
I'm
it
simply
down.
saying is that I support this government for good reason. There are things that are happening now that have never happened before. Like the students' loan, as of today, about 788,000 students have benefited from the loan. From about 1.1 something million applications, with the highest beneficiaries coming from Borno State.
Beautiful. It's a good one. But going back to the question, remember what I had asked earlier was, is it true that you people shared 500 naira
No.
plantain chips?
Okay, let me come to that particular event.
And biscuit.
That day, we went to Mararaba area. And we were doing a road show, which we had done in Abuja before. That was about the third or fourth road show that we were doing. I belong to a group called Relax. Tinubu is fixing Nigeria.
Oh, okay.
So we went on a road show to tell people about the things the president is doing. While we were there in Mararaba, one man is an Hausa man. He was selling biscuits and a whole lot of other things. He just carried some biscuits and gave us that he likes what we are doing. He gave us free of charge. So I told my colleagues that we shouldn't allow this man to go empty-handed. He gave this thing in good faith, but we should pay him. And I actually brought out money and gave the man, thanking him for the gift, but that we must pay him. And then we shared these to the people around. You know, in the end, people said we were sharing money to people and all of that. But then...
There's also a picture where it seems as if you're sharing plantain chips.
I bought plantain chips because we were very hungry at the time, and gave to some of my colleagues because they said they were hungry also. We were actually finishing from there and then going to have our meal. I bought plantain chips and gave to some of them, and I was eating some. And some people from the crowd were requesting for some. So we gave them.
We shared them.
We shared some to them. But people said we went out and were sharing plantain chips, sharing money. That was not how it happened. This is actually the first opportunity I'm having to
talk about
this.
Okay. So the video trended quite a lot. But now that you've made that clarification, talking about the things that has gotten better under this administration, our audience would disagree with you in a lot of areas, especially when you say that the prices of commodities are coming down. I can ask any of these boys here, the last thing, first, a crate of egg, we all know how much. Before, it wasn't up to, it was about 1,500 naira. I was even during during Buhari's regime. Currently, is over 5,000 naira. So the prices of things coming down, do you mean that the prices of things went up under this administration and it's now coming down under this same administration?
That's what I'm saying.
But that shouldn't be a thing of pride, because it went up in this administration.
It's not a thing of pride, one. It is just a statement of fact. This is what is happening. Prices went up. Why? Exchange rates shot up because of the removal of fuel subsidy. How much was the exchange rate before? And how much did it get up to? It got up to the dollar exchanging for about 1,800 or so.
Yes.
1,800. But it is coming down. It is now at 1,300 and something, and it will keep going down. That's what I was referring to. It's a statement of fact.
But this administration,
let me mention what I meant.
Okay.
The price of rice, for example, shot up to about 100,000.
Yes,
per bag
under this administration.
But it is coming down. It is no longer 100,000. Go to the market to buy rice. Go to the market to buy tomatoes. Go to the market to buy different things. The prices are gradually coming down as the exchange rate is also coming down. Go and check.
But this would mean that this administration have not achieved anything, because they met a price of something when it was much cheaper and then took it up very high, and now it's coming down gradually from where this administration took it up.
These are economic factors that you cannot disprove. People make the mistake of comparing this regime
with previous
regime without certain indices being put in place. For example, people talk now and say during the time of Goodluck, fuel was selling for this price. All over the world, the prices of things have changed. Go and check. It's not only in Nigeria. We isolate Nigeria and forget that we are living in a community of nations. All over the world, things have changed. And if you go amongst the 15 ECOWAS nations, at least that's the immediate economic bloc that we belong to. Amongst the 15 ECOWAS nations, things are cheapest in Nigeria currently. I know because I go to these places to work. The price of fuel is cheapest in Nigeria till today, amongst the 15 nations of ECOWAS. Even in the countries that have oil like Nigeria, small countries like Gabon. Gabon has a population of about 1.5 million people with a lot of oil. But the cost of living is far higher than Nigeria. The cost of fuel is far higher than Nigeria.
That is Gabon.
I'm talking of a country of 1.5 million people. Yeah. Go to Côte d'Ivoire, where I told you I traveled to in June last year. The price of fuel is about 1,750 naira. That's the equivalent in naira. Go to Cameroon, the same thing. Go to Ghana, the same thing. These things are cheapest in Nigeria. I'm not just talking about fuel. I'm talking about prices of commodities. If you go to the market, if you go to supermarkets to buy things, or if you go to the general market to buy food items and all of that, just call anybody in Ghana that you know. Call anybody in Cameroon you know. Call anybody in any ECOWAS country you know. Ask them, what is the price of fuel? What is the price of this? What is the price of that? Right to hotel accommodation. It is cheapest in Nigeria till today.
You know, the problem most Nigerians have with the president or with this administration is the fact that he was the leader of the opposition that protested against Goodluck Jonathan when he wanted to remove the fuel subsidy. They took to the street. They even built a coffin for Goodluck Jonathan because he announced he attempted to remove fuel subsidy. This same thing that they demonized, this same thing that they weaponized to remove Jonathan from office, he came back and also did the same thing. So people are now asking, if you knew that it was the best thing to do, why did you protest against the former president? And people in APC and in this administration, just like you, are not using this to score points. You're saying this was the best thing that the president did. But the president used it to unseat a former president. So that is one of the problems. Is it that the president is not being sincere, or that he was just playing politics?
That's politics. That's politics. 1. 2, that's also, how will I say, time changes everything. What might not have been palatable at that time, I mean, you're talking of about 15 years ago. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Close to 15 years ago. What was obtainable 15 years ago is no longer obtainable now. All over the world, things have changed. So 15 years down the line, a lot of things have changed. The country has gone down and down and down into serious debts, which is one of the biggest problems we have. A lot of things have changed. The person who told you one thing 20 years ago may say another thing now by reason of time changing everything. That's how it happens.
Now, as a pastor, you're a pastor, correct? As a pastor, do you feel proud associating with a government that have allowed ceaseless killings and displacement of Christians?
When you say that has allowed, you give the impression that the government is not doing anything.
No, I use that because it's their responsibility.
And of course, it's their responsibility. No, let me, again, sometimes it's good when you make a statement, draw analogies between what is happening in Nigeria and what is happening elsewhere in the world. Some things are happening in Nigeria that have happened already in other parts of the world. And the whole thing is being brought down to economic factors. A war has been going on in Democratic Republic of Congo for so many years. Why? Because of the resources of that country. And because of some foreign collaboration with certain key people in the country. Some people are interested in sustaining the insecurity because it is business for them, for economic reasons. For example, some people are creating insecurity around certain areas where we have certain resources, certain rare earth minerals, creating security around that place, and then use the opportunity to be moving
the resources.
That's right. Make it look like it's insecurity. No, it's economic. That's what is happening around some of those areas in the north because of certain rare earth minerals we have. Lithium is one of them. Gold is another one. There are certain things that are there that they create insecurity around that area. While it is going on, they are mining and exporting raw. That's what is going on. But when you say the government is not doing anything, there was a word you used. It makes
Allowed.
Yes. It makes it look like the government is not making any effort. The government is making a lot of efforts to stop this. But it's a continuous thing until it will be stamped out. Lithium has been discovered in large quantities in Nasarawa, in Kogi, and maybe one or two other states. You know what lithium is? Lithium is like the petroleum of the future. And here comes an American company that wants to export our lithium raw. That wants us to export our lithium raw to them, some companies. And the government said no. If you cannot come and build a factory here so that value will be added to it before exporting. And they left. They said they were not interested, they just wanted the raw export to them. But the government found a Chinese company that is willing to come and build a factory here, which means jobs will be created, which means value will be added before it is exported. There's some of these things people don't know because they don't do research. I tell a lot of people, do some research on your own. There's so much information available if you go to Google. So much information. Like the nail fund thing I'm talking about. Just Google nail fund today. It will give you an up-to-date, an up-to-date analysis of what has happened in nail fund. How many beneficiaries there have been, what state has applied the more, what state has benefited the more. And there's a lot of information at Google. But people just prefer reading the false narratives that are being peddled there and then run with them and then...
But sir, these are not wrong narratives. Now, let me take it from the beginning when you started talking about
it depends
insecurity.
It depends on the perspective you're coming from. That's what I mean.
Now, you mentioned... what is the country you mentioned that is having war because of their resources again? Congo. The question anyone listening to you would want to ask is Nigeria at war? The answer is no. We are not officially at war. But
no, when I mentioned war, I was actually referring to Congo and Rwanda.
Yes, I understand.
Congo has experienced the same insecurity that we're experiencing.
I understand. But even with the insecurity in Congo has still not lost the number of people that Nigeria has lost. And Congo is officially at war.
Are you sure of that? Do you have the facts?
In 2025, Nigeria lost over 11,000 people alone.
Do you have the figures for Congo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Do you have the figures for America, for example, people who die by, these incessant killings and guns?
I do.
So
and that is the problem.
Why am I mentioning these things? Hold on. Why am I mentioning these things? Every country has its own challenges.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Every country has its own challenges. But the problem people are having with the Tinubu administration is the fact that they came to power with the promise that the previous government were not able to properly secure Nigeria, to properly provide adequate security for Nigerians. And we trusted that they were coming to do something differently. But insecurity became worse in the last 2 years. And then you have listed the cause of this insecurity issue, like the discovery of lithium in Nasarawa. And all of these things are reasons for this insecurity. Now we have the reasons. Ordinary Nigerians like me do not care about the reasons. We care about the willingness or whatever it is that will be done to ensure that we do not have this fear of being kidnapped or killed at any moment in time. And if we are just being presented with reasons, does that not show or prove the incompetence of the president? Because Jonathan had reasons. Buhari had reasons. Now in the turn of Tinubu, should we rather focus on the reasons or the fact that the president has not been able to provide that security for us?
I made some statements not to justify what is happening. The reason why I made some of these statements is the fact that the government is making genuine efforts, but they are up against the people who want the former status quo to continue. That's number one. Number two, reforms are not an overnight thing. You're talking of problems that have existed for decades and you want them to be solved in 2 years. It doesn't happen that way. Reforms take time. It's not an overnight thing. It will take some time. But it is also good to acknowledge that efforts are being made in the right direction. That's all I'm saying. It's not an overnight thing. It will not just fizzle away in 2 years, in 3 years, but it will fizzle away. Efforts are being made. So my main point is, when you point out the flaws, you must also point out the efforts being made to make sure that these things are righted. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Efforts are being made in the right direction, but it's not an overnight thing. That's all I'm saying.
The problem we have with this effort,
And I don't know if I came here to discuss government or
No,
because
no.
this is taking a long time.
No,
It looks like this is the main focus of this podcast. Yes, because that's the impression I'm getting from you.
No, sir. You know, the reason why we're asking is, this is like a right platform for you to convince Nigerians to start supporting
I don't
this
need
administration.
See,
because
see.
you are one of the prominent people.
See, let me make one thing clear.
Okay.
I'm not here to convince Nigerians. I am here to present to them the facts of the matter. That's number one. Nigerians don't research. They run with what they see on the social media. And I will tell you that 3/4 of what you see on the social media are not true. They're not true. They're not well researched. But you know the saying about give a dog a bad name so that you can kill it. That's what is happening. People are not researching. I was in the UK sometime last year, and I was accosted by some people. Why are you supporting this man? Why are you supporting Tinubu? Why you do this? I said, why wouldn't I support him? He is the president of my country. Do you want me not to support the president of my country? If I am convinced that he's doing things in the right way, and if I'm willing to be patient and allow him time. Reforms are not easy, because reforms come to change the old order and bring a new order in place. They are not easy. First of all, anybody who is carrying out reforms must be ready to be a very unpopular person, because people will say negative things about you because you are coming to change the lifestyle that they are used to, which is what is happening. The president knew what he was embarking upon, but he was willing to do it. So you must give him credit for that. He was willing to bear all the negative things being said about him, but these reforms must be carried out. Otherwise, or else we'll go down the drain. So no president that has carried out reforms is ever popular. Do you understand? But we must have something in mind. It is not an overnight solution. It will take a while for things to get better. And while it takes that long, things will definitely be uncomfortable for people. That's the nature of reforms. That's the way reforms happen. But are efforts being made in the right direction? Yes. The answer is in the affirmative. Efforts are being made to change things, to change the narratives, to change the mindset of Nigerians. People expected that, okay, he's president now, everything should be all right. It doesn't happen like that. For example, I went through 2 brain surgeries. I know how long I stayed in the hospital
To recover.
to recover. It's not the same as treating malaria or typhoid or some other ailment. So the severity of the malaise determines the length of time it will take for things to get better. But are things going to get better? Yes, the answer is in the affirmative. Things are going to get better. Are things going to be rough and unpleasant? Yes. Because the process of healing is not a comfortable one. The process of reform is not a comfortable one.
So I'm just going to ask one more question on this and we'll move on. The reason why we're hammering on this is because it's not just for me or for these guys here. It's for those who will be watching this podcast. I believe you've been talking about healings, and someone watching us now would ask, are we truly healing or it's getting worse? And I'm going to ask question on 3 cardinal things that human beings focus on primarily, which is insecurity, economic, and in Nigeria, unfortunately, power. In Nigeria, is the security getting better or is it getting worse? And I would want you to be sincere because there are lots of people who, as we're speaking now, I've interviewed a couple of people, leaders here. They no longer have communities. They no longer have houses. I've interviewed a pastor from Plateau. I believe you must have seen that pastor who came crying. And some of the things I saw and heard, I couldn't sleep that night. So insecurity, is it getting worse or are we getting safer under this administration? Economically, there is a study that shows that over 100 million of Nigerians are living in multidimensional poverty. They can't even afford $1 per day. Under this administration, we've become the headquarters of poverty. Power. Tinubu, President Tinubu promised that if he doesn't fix power in the first 4 years of his administration, that we should not vote for him again. Now, as someone who loves this president, who believes in this president so much, do you think that with all of this, we should still vote for him in 2027? And on what ground should we do that?
Like I said, people should be sincere enough to look around and see what is going on. We are winning the war against insecurity. I will still say what I said. It's not an overnight thing. It will take a while, but it will definitely be solved. What I told you again about Nel Fund, do you understand? The reason why I said go to Google is that there's so much information available on Google. People don't research things to find out what is happening. They just run with any negative thing they have read and take it as authentic. That's what is happening to a lot of Nigerians. Things are definitely getting better, and they will get far better than they are right now. Is the government making efforts? The answer is in the affirmative. They are making efforts. In the area of electricity, power, I'm sure a lot of people do not know that the president has removed power from the exclusive list of the federal government and made it concurrent now. That state governments are free to generate. I don't know if you're aware of that. There's no way one body alone can take care of power for a country of 200 and something million people. It doesn't happen anywhere. But that's what has been the status of power in this country. That only the federal government generates and distributes electricity. Am I correct? There are certain, in the Constitution, for example, there are certain things in the exclusive list, which means it's only the federal government that has the power to handle those things. Electricity was one of them. But the first step has been taken to remove power from the exclusive list and put it in the concurrent list, which means it is not only the federal government's responsibility now. State governments, with all the money that they are receiving, can go into power generation and distribution. Again, I will say it is not an overnight thing. The magnitude of the problem determines the length of time it will take for the problem to be solved. But are steps being taken for the problem to be solved? The answer again is in the affirmative.
Is this the reason why the president...
Sorry,
sir. Is this the reason why the president decided to install solar system in Aso Rock?
See, solar power is used all over the world. Go to China and study their electricity, how they generate. You will find out. Go to America. Solar power is a source of energy that is used all over the world by advanced countries. I don't know why it should become an issue now in Nigeria, because something is happening that they are not used to or that they don't know about. That's why I said, go and research what is happening in other countries. You will find out that we are just coming to terms with those things now. Go and research it. Do you understand? How is power being generated in China, in different countries? Every country has its own model depending on the magnitude of its own problem.
Are you now saying that Nigerians should focus on generating power through solar energy instead of depending on the government for electricity?
You cannot depend on the government. I just made a statement. I said the first step towards making sure that we get electricity is what the government has done, to remove it from the exclusive list and put it in the concurrent list. So state governments now are free to work with private bodies to generate. Look at what is happening in Abia State with Geometric power company that is owned by Professor Nnamdi. Is it not the government and the state government, the government of Abia State and a private organization that are working together? Or don't you know about it?
Of course I do.
Oh. Geometric is a private power company. Professor Nnamdi, I know him personally. He's from my state. He's working together with the Abia State government to make sure that there is constant electricity in the city of Aba to support all the manufacturing activities going on there. What does it mean? It means every state governor now can partner with private companies who can bring power to the state either by means of solar energy or by any other means to make sure that there is light. But again, I will take you back to what I said. It is not an overnight thing, but it is happening. Just give it a while. It will become a thing of the past. That's what I'm asking Nigerians. Make some effort to find out what is going on before you start criticizing.
Patience.
Patience. Just be patient.
Do you think Nigerians complain excessively?
Oh, yes, we do. We do. We complain excessively without doing our own due diligence. Some of the things I'm telling you, I did my own due diligence to be convinced of what I'm doing, that the government is making efforts in the right direction. I didn't know about Nail Fund. One day it just came to my mind. I said, because I have 3 children, my son and my 2 daughters. My 2 daughters are schooling in American universities. I know what it is to pay school fees for your children. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know what it is for every parent to cough out money to pay school fees for his or her children. I did some research on my own. That's how I found out these things about Nail Fund. That we have about 788,000 people who have benefited from it. And while you are a beneficiary, for example, if you are in your 3rd year and you apply for it and you get approval, they will pay you back what you have spent from year 1 to year 3. Pay you back everything. And then be giving you money to pay for. They pay to the institution to pay for the remaining years you're studying. And then while it is going on, you're receiving some stipend as pocket allowance. Where can you get that anywhere else in the world? And then it is interest-free. Interest-free. And you only start paying 2 years after your graduation, after your youth service, when you have found a job. You can't get it any better anywhere else. Okay. How did I know? What I'm saying is, how did I know about all of these things? I did some research on my own so that I'll be informed. And that's why I'm convinced saying what I'm saying. But a lot of Nigerians, they don't do any research. They just run away with what they hear or the negative information that has been peddled. And they start talking without knowledge.
I think the best information Nigerians have is their stomach. A hungry man knows that things are hard.
Let me tell you something.
He doesn't need to research.
Let me tell you something. Starvation or hunger has been an international problem over the years. It didn't start today. It didn't start with this administration. The United Nations Organization has a program called World Food Program. It is the largest humanitarian organization on the planet, with a presence in about 120 countries. And it is to address issues of hunger and things like that. Do you know when it was set up? 1961. So the issue of hunger is a problem that has been on for decades in the world. It didn't start today. People make it look as if it is this administration that brought hunger to Nigeria. No. There's a very popular Jamaican group singing group called the Pioneers. They did a song called Starvation. It's spreading towards the nations. Do you know when that song was released? 1967. No, 1976. That song was released in 1976. So the issue of hunger, starvation has always been an issue with the entire world.
So we shouldn't even have hope that someday
I'm
hunger will end, or that the government does not have what it takes to end hunger.
We shouldn't have hope. I am simply trying to reset people's minds, the way they think. Because we are very good at peddling certain narratives that we have heard without finding out the truth of those narratives and then making it look like all the problems of Nigeria started
today.
Yes, today, with this administration, which is wrong. I'll give you an example of, I mentioned Idris Abdul Karim. He did Nigeria Jaga Jaga in 2004. That's 22 years ago. So is it today that the Jaga Jaga in Nigeria started? No. It didn't start today.
And it's going to continue.
It is going to continue. There are problems that are the problems of that are problems of humanity. As long as we live on planet Earth, the problems of hunger will be there. The issue of hunger will be there. The issue of, for example, illegal migration will be there, and a whole lot of other things. There are problems that have been facing humanity for decades and decades and decades, and they will continue being there. But efforts will also continue to be made to solve these problems. That's the issue.
Now, your wife publicly declared support for P2B. Exactly the same period when you were campaigning for Tinubu and APC. What happened? Do you think that this purely represents the political diversity that Nigerians are used to?
Yeah. My wife is an adult. My wife is educated. She studied at the University of Lagos. She's also an actress and costume designer. Do you understand? She's also a music personality. So as an adult, I mean, this is the wife of my youth. We've been married since 1989. So you're talking of how long? 37 years we've been married. Definitely she has her own views. Definitely she has her own political leaning. I wouldn't force her to support my own candidate.
Do you people have this kind of discussion we're having now at home? I'm wondering how it will look like.
There are things she sees and posts it to me and asks, is this true? And I'll say yes. She won't comment. She will just say,
APC people.
So these things happen. She respects my views and I respect her views and her leanings also. So it's normal. We are adults, you know. Okay, for example, the president is a Muslim. The wife is a pastor.
Yeah.
A Christian pastor. And they've been living together for decades. Isn't that amazing? When people were complaining about the Muslim ticket, I asked some of them a question. I said, are you married? They said, yes. Who is your first confidant today? I said, my wife. Who is the person closest to you today? He said, my wife. We share the same bed. And I said, okay, this man that you people are condemning for flying a Muslim ticket, who is his wife? They mentioned her name, distinguished Senator Oluremi Tinubu. Is she a Christian or a Muslim? They said she's a Christian. Is she not a pastor? They said yes. I said, so who is the closest person to the man you people are saying is flying Muslim ticket? Is it not a Christian that is closest to him? The first person he will confide in? The first person who is in a position to influence what he does, is it not his wife? Or the first person he will have consideration for, is it not his wife who is a Christian pastor? So some of these things, we need to be able to look at things from different angles before we make certain statements. Yeah.
As a pastor, do you believe that there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria?
I believe that Christians in some parts of the country are facing a lot of problems by reason of their faith. That's the way I would like to put it. But to come out and say that there's a Christian genocide. Do you know the meaning of genocide? So we should be careful when we use words because of the connotations we give those words different from their true meanings. We should be careful the way we use words. I have read about these people going to a community and burning down a mosque or killing people who are predominantly Muslims? Would you say there's a Muslim genocide? Because some Christians were killed, would you now say there's a genocide? I don't know. I'm just looking at it from my own realistic perspective. Christians are being killed, Muslims are being killed. That's what is going on in Nigeria. Christians and Muslims are being killed.
Equally.
Yeah.
Right. Now, social media dragged you mercilessly during your political activities. Some comments were very vicious and personal, of course, as we are used to when people are talking about politics. Everyone, the obedient, the people fan those they are in support of, and of course, through tantrums on those they feel are not properly representing them. So I want to ask, what did this show you or tell you about Nigerians?
I think I don't know whether to say Nigerians are one-track minded. They just follow a path and that's it. They expect every other person to follow the same path they're following. If you're not following the same path they're following, then they criticize you and condemn you. We're difficult people to govern. Go all over the world where you have Nigerians and our activities. It will just show you the nature of our people. But it has never made me deny my nationality as a Nigerian. Because everywhere I go, wherever I go in the world, I say I am proudly Nigerian. Whatever you think about me or about my fellow Nigerians, that's your headache, not mine. But I know that we are good people and we are very resourceful people. And then when we get resourceful, other people get uncomfortable because they don't have the drive that we have as Nigerians. But I would say as Nigerians, we should tolerate other people's views. We should accept the fact that everybody must not toe the line we are toeing. We should accept the fact that people come from different extractions, different upbringings, different influences, and people have their views and opinions about things. They must not be necessarily ours, but we must learn to respect other people's leanings, other people's positions on things. Because that's what will make for a peaceful coexistence. If we admit or accept the fact that we are all different and we are all free to have our opinions and our persuasions. But otherwise, I'm proud to be a Nigerian. Nigerians are very resourceful people, very hardworking, very creative, very imaginative people. We are not afraid to do things, whether in Nigeria or elsewhere, wherever we are.
Yes.
We're not afraid to do things, to try things, to explore, to improve, or to set goals for ourselves and set out to achieve those goals wherever we are. That's what I love about being a Nigerian, yeah.
Do you think the Igbos play tribal politics?
Why that question? Whether the Igbos play tribal politics.
We've heard. I am an Igbo man. You are an Igbo man too. But oftentimes we read on social media that Igbos do not understand how to play politics. Some have also said that Igbos are supporting Peter Obi because Peter Obi is an Igbo man. This is why I asked this question. Do you think that the Igbos play tribal politics? They support only their own?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Because I'm an Igbo man. I supported Tinubu because, as far as I'm concerned, amongst the three or how many presidential candidates, to me, he was the most qualified in terms of competence, in terms of carrying out the necessary reforms to change the rot of this country. And I can never be at peace with myself if I don't speak my mind and do the things that I am convinced about. There are a lot of other Igbo people who supported him and who are still supporting him because they believe, maybe because of our upbringing, maybe because of the lives I've lived in Lagos since 1979. My home has been in Lagos in terms of where I stay and where I do my work. Until recently when I came to Abuja, and I've been here for like 2 years now, since after my surgery. One of the things that endeared me or endeared him to me, I don't know if I'm saying
Yes.
putting it the right way. One of the things that endeared him to me was the fact that when he was governor of Lagos State, there was always an Igbo man in his cabinet as a commissioner. Always. There was always an Igbo man. Even the vice president, when he was governor in Borno, had an Igbo man in his cabinet. It tells you that this is somebody who believes in inclusivity.
Yes.
Who believes in the Nigerian project, regardless of your ethnic extraction. If you have the competence, it brings you in to work with him. And that tradition continued, even right after him, when he handed over to Fashola as the governor. It continued. So he had put something in place. Okay, amongst the presidential candidates, if you talk about somebody who has raised people, he was number one amongst the others. The people he had raised, both from his own ethnic extraction and from other ethnic extractions, people he had helped over the years. So there were a number of attributes that attracted him to me, that made me say, yes, this is the man who should be president of Nigeria. If he can bring the same inclusivity at the federal level. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. Now I'm going to ask about democracy and what it has given Nigerians. Do you think that democracy has really helped? I mean, you are old enough. I'm sure you witnessed a lot of military regimes. Do you think that democracy has really changed anything or improved anything in Nigeria?
Democracy has improved a lot of things in Nigeria. But I'll also say democracy is the one system of government that allows anybody to disrespect anybody, because people feel that it's their right to get up and say whatever is in their mind, whatever it is. I will look at it from the point of view that democracy is good. It's a good system of governance, because it allows representation of people from different extractions to come together and represent their own people and fight for the interests of their people, for the benefits or the dividends of democracy. It is the only system that guarantees that. How well it is being executed is a totally different kettle of fish. But in principle, that's what it allows, and for me, it's the system that is good for us.
Your fellow Nollywood actor and former Enugu AGN chairman. By the way, I never knew you were once AGN chairman nationally and also in Enugu.
Yeah, I was president of the Actors Guild in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I never knew about that until today.
20-something years ago.
Yes. So your colleague, Stanley Amadi, was arrested last year for allegedly plotting to violently overthrow this government. And that came as a rude shock because, this is someone who is in the entertainment industry. How he got to become a part of allegedly became a part of such plot is something we still do not understand. So 2 actors, you, 2 former chairmen of the same AGN chapter in Enugu, in 2 different divides. How do you reconcile that? Do you think that his desperation or the alleged crime he's been accused of is because of desperation, because of hunger, or because the government is not treating the industry as they ought to be treated?
I will only say that I don't have enough information about him and what he did to make a comment on that. That's number 1. Number 2, if you talk about the entertainment industry, we urged the president because previously, under previous administrations, the entertainment industry or the film industry has been operating under the Ministry of Information. We prevailed on Mr. President to create a ministry for us, and he did it. This is the first time we are having a ministry of the creative industry. The first time. It hasn't happened before. Just like there are a lot of firsts in this administration. This is the first time we are having Minister of the Creative Economy. The Ministry of Creative Economy is the first time in the history of this country.
Yes.
Do you understand?
I do.
So
good man because he's been working with us in one of our projects.
So nobody will say that the president has ignored the entertainment industry when he actually created a ministry for them. So, again, it takes me back to what I said before, that people should mind what they say. People should research on things before they make any statements.
Great.
I remember very well, we prevailed on him. He said, done. And when he became president, he created the ministry. It's the first time. Just like it's the first time we're having development commissions for every geopolitical zone. It's the first time in this country. We have 6 development commissions in addition to the Niger Delta Development Commission. It's the first time we're having local government autonomy. There are things the man has done within 30 months that...
But the local government autonomy doesn't seem to work. It seems to only work on paper. I don't understand why
it is being resisted
by the governors.
I'm not calling anybody names, but I will tell you.
We know it's by the governors.
It is being resisted, but like I said again, it's only a question of time. What will be, will be. The law has already been passed. Do you understand? It's a question of time. Again, is also a question of taking people away from their comfort zone and introducing a reform and say, this is now the new order. People are resisting it, but it will happen. Once it has been gazetted as a law in this country, it's just a question of time. I won't be surprised tomorrow if there's if there's a Ministry of Local Government Affairs created at the national level.
And then the state police.
Yes. So things are happening. The only thing I'll say to people is look around you and see the progress that is being made. And then again, it is not an overnight thing. Okay, it will happen.
As an Igbo man, do you think, in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, do you think that the Nigerian government is being unjust the way they've treated him?
Again, that's a very thorny issue that I wouldn't want to comment on. Do you understand? Some people are using it as a political tool. Some people are using it to gain popularity. Some people are using it for different reasons. Not that they love the man. Not that they've ever met him. Do you understand? And then without looking into the activities, I don't want to comment on that.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Understandable. Now, after near-death experience, after all the lonely nights, the battles, the struggle with your health, what is the one truth you can now boldly say without minding who is offended, either about yourself, about God, about your belief? What is just one thing you can now loudly say, something you used to be afraid or something you lacked the courage to say out loudly before? What is that one thing you can now boldly say in public or talk about?
What is the one thing? I don't know. After the health challenge I went through, and being now strong and healthy and in sound mind, I can only say that God is the strength of my life, as He has always been. God has been the strength and the keeper of my life. And I will forever be grateful to Him for giving me some more years
To live
That's right.
in good health.
In good health and sound mind. God has been my strength and is still my strength and keeper. That's all I can say.
Okay. There's one thing I do with some of my guests before I let them go. I'd like you to leave, just take your time, think about it. I would like you to leave just one question for the next guest. One question you would like us to ask the next guest in your name. Anything at all.
One question for the next guest.
I'm going to make it easy. Let me tell you the kind of guest, the next guest that is going to be on this show. He used to be a Muslim, a converted to Christian. A Christian is now an evangelist. And he has been very vocal. He has been talking about what Islam truly represents and all of that. He has been making a lot of controversial statements. So we want to interview him to get the background of what Islam truly represents, what they are taught. I'm not a Muslim, so I want to hear directly from him and how he was able to transition to who he is now. So this is the guest we are going to have on this show next.
The question that came to my mind even before you told me this was, are you truly fulfilling your calling as a human being? Because we all have a calling. We all have a destination. We all were created for something.
Very powerful.
Have you truly discovered your calling, and are you fulfilling it? That was the question that came to my mind.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for watching to this point. Remember, do not be afraid of what knowledge will make you become, unless you enjoy the bliss of ignorance. Subscribe to this channel, because the next conversation may change everything you think you know about this world. Join us. For now, see you in the next conversation.